Hi, I'm Jami Shapiro, and welcome to Grandma Has ADHD. I'm a certified senior move manager and owner of Silver Linings Transitions, where I help people navigate life's big transitions. But here's the thing, I spent years helping families move through change while completely missing the pattern that was running through my own life. I'm the daughter of two ADHD parents, the mother of three ADHD children, and yep, I have ADHD too. For years, I didn't have the language or understanding for what that meant. But becoming an ADHD coach and specialist, that's been absolutely game changing. Not just for how I work with my clients, but for how I relate to my family and honestly, for how I understand myself. I even wrote a book about it called This Explains So Much. This podcast is for all of us who are discovering ADHD later in life. Each week, I bring you conversations with industry experts and people sharing their own ADHD journeys, real stories, real strategies, and often a little too much information. If you're loving what you're hearing, please share this podcast, leave us a review, and find me at jamishapiro.me. That's JamiShapiro.me. Whether you're over 50 and just getting diagnosed, or you're recognizing patterns you've lived with your whole life, this is your space to navigate ADHD with others who get it. So grab your coffee and get comfortable and let's dive in. So if you've been listening to the Grandma Has ADHD podcast for any length of time, you have heard me speak about the Sparkler Society and how it's coming in July. Well, I am really excited because waiting is horrible, even for me. And in June, we are opening our doors for a trial run. This is going to be absolutely free. It's an opportunity for you to join the community, find out what it's about, and help us kind of work out the kinks. So if you like what you hear, if you're looking for authenticity, you want to come as you are, you want to get your shit together with other people who want to get their shit together, then I would love for you to find me at jamishapiro.me. That's JAMISHAPIRO.me, and find the Sparkler Society where you can join the waitlist. And in June, we're going to kick it off with our first 14-day challenge. We are going to tackle the bathroom. And if you join us, you're going to know why we picked the bathroom. So I cannot wait to get started. This community is going to change your life. So hope you enjoy the podcast. Can't wait to meet you in person. I am so excited to welcome to the Grandma Has ADHD podcast somebody who I actually consider a friend. And so it's going to be an unusual podcast. I am excited to introduce you to today's guest, Sydney Kennedy. She is a certified senior advisor who brings an incredible blend of her talents to work. From her graduate level education in organizational behavior to her experience in everything from recruitment and real estate to conference production and sales and marketing. But what really sets Sydney apart is her heart and she tells it like it is attitude, which I personally love. For over 20 years, Sydney has worked with thousands of seniors and their families, guiding them through one of life's most challenging transitions with patience and compassion. And she also has experience because she helped care for her mother at a distance while she was having to make decisions and work full time. So she understands both sides of the equation. What makes this conversation today really relevant for our listeners is that she is among the millions of women of her generation who were likely living with undiagnosed ADHD. And her light bulb moment came when she read my book, This Explains So Much. Sydney is a personal friend of mine, so she's one of the guests that I'm inviting who I do know a little bit more about, but I was so glad when she agreed to come on this podcast and share her own discovery of ADHD, as well as the work she does for seniors. And I know her area of expertise especially is in dementia care. And we're going to also talk about that. So Sydney, that's a mouthful. How are you?
It is a mouthful. I just want to sit here and let you talk about me.
Do you know what's so funny, Sydney? It's very, very indicative of an ADHD person to have a lot of different jobs. And then even when I'm introduced, I'm like, I did that. And I did that. That's very much, we have this imposter syndrome. So it's like we always have to be achieving. Do you feel that?
Well, I mean, I'm older than you are. And so I've had more life experiences. And yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of everything that I've done.
As you
You
should
know,
be.
eyes wide open. And
Mhm.
you have to do what you have to do. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful for everything, the way I was brought up, everything.
That's great. Well, speaking of that, I'd like you to kind of take me back to reading the book when you had that light bulb moment. Like, Jami, I think you're talking to me because I think, did you buy the book just to kind of support your friend, or were you curious after you heard a
Oh no.
presentation? Go ahead. Let's hear it.
No, I ended up buying one book for me to look at because I was curious. And then I bought a few after. And yeah, when I started reading it, I think there was a checklist in it. It's been a
Mhm.
while since I've read it, and
Mhm.
I'm not an expert on ADD or ADHD at all. You know, I haven't sort of wanted to go to a doctor and find out if I have it or any of that stuff because at this point, I recognize a lot of the characteristics that you have in your book, and it explains a lot.
Mhm.
And I think probably the big thing that I got out of that was not being interested in school.
Mhm.
I was a daydreamer,
Mhm.
and I wasn't really interested.
Mhm.
And I got caught out a bunch of times for not paying attention.
Mhm.
And and if I could get away with it, I was a disruptor in the
Mhm.
class
Mhm.
because I always had lots to say. And
You, Sydney, you had a lot to say.
yeah, I was always looking for, you know, action.
Mhm.
And
I want to point something out just to people who might be listening. There are a lot of people who feel like, it explains so much, but I don't need to do anything with it. But I will say that you are still working full time. And what I'm finding, we're going to pause for a second. You guys will hear Benji barking, but today you got to hear Rufus, Sydney's dog. So, as I was saying, you work full time still, but what happens for people with ADHD a lot of times is that scaffolding of their life has kept things together, and then when they retire, one of the challenges, and I'd love to ask you this question, Sydney, when I have an open day with nothing planned, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. How do you feel about an open day?
I think that our lives are very different. I'm kind of an extroverted introvert.
Me too.
So I can waste a day like nobody, or I can get into something
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, dig in deep. Like lately, I've been reading voraciously, but
Mm.
I don't have any problem turning it off.
Mm.
I
Okay.
don't have any. Now, that's not to say that my brain's not going
Mhm.
because I'm very analytical and I'm planning things. I'm thinking about things, you know, when I have to give a talk or even when I'm thinking about communities that I should refer my clients to. I'm constantly, there's a computer up there
Mhm.
that may not be turned off, but it doesn't mean that I'm actively working. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, that racing brain. I am, by the way, Sydney, there's three types of ADHD presentation. There's inattentive, which is probably what you have. And then there's hyperactive, which almost everybody can remember that little boy in school that couldn't sit still. And that's the hyperactive presentation. And then there is the combined type, which is actually me. I am both. So I do have a harder time, with sitting still. So I also have the not sitting still and the racing brain, but you are wrong. I am actually also introverted. I can turn it on and then it wears me out. And I call it I love another podcast interview that I did with a Wilma Fellman who said her spirit animal was a squirtle. And I said, that describes me so well. So I go, 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 go. And then I retreat like the turtle. So now
No,
you.
I would say I'm not, I don't have the H.
Well, okay, so Sydney, they changed it in the DSM-5. It used to be ADD, and now it's ADHD inattentive type. So even though you may not have a hyperactive body, you have a brain that would be considered hyperactive because
Okay.
it's going. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who say to me, "Oh, I don't have ADHD, I have ADD." Well, I didn't write the DSM-5, but that is how it's classified now.
Well,
So.
I've always thought of myself, and my family used to tease me at this. I don't have a problem making a decision. So I don't want to mislead there. I can make a decision. If it's a wrong decision, I'll make another decision. Grateful for that, because my mother was, a procrastinator, I guess, or, afraid to make a decision. But I'm very analytical. So I can get into analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's part of ADD, but I can get into, analyzing it thoroughly, and I'll reach a conclusion, but I'm really very analytical. I should have been an engineer.
So what I like to tell people is that you meet one person with ADHD and you meet one person with ADHD, because we really are all very different. And I cannot diagnose anybody, but there are personality traits that I see in people. And I think it's, especially when you talked about your childhood, when you and I sat down together and you talked about, I think, something about your dance class, or I don't remember. Do you remember the story that you shared with me about when you were?
Well, my mom told me that I was kicked out of ballet when I was young for being a disrupting influence. And I'm sure it was because I didn't want to be doing ballet. I was a jock. I mean, I loved active sports, but ballet wasn't it. I remember when I was in school, all my report cards said, Sydney needs to apply herself. She can do better. And the thing that I'm so grateful for is that my parents didn't make me feel like I was stupid. And so I don't know why that is, except that my dad instilled in me a quality that my brother didn't get from him, and that is that there's nothing I can't do.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful for that. It stood me in good stead. But I will tell you, in school, I mean, I never worked on classes during the year. I crammed for every exam. Even in university, I crammed. I left it all and crammed, because most of the time I wasn't interested. Now, there are exceptions, things like math and grammar. I was always top of the class. See that engineering kind of thing. I was always top of the class. But history, no. Chemistry, biology, no. Even English, because I had the Shakespeare and Charles Dickens and all those English people shoved down my throat, and I struggled. Now, in the school that I went to, I don't know if I'm getting off track, but in the school that I went to, the smart kids, what I deemed to be the smart kids, could be exempt from writing finals if they had good grades all year. Like if they had over 80% all year, then they didn't have to write finals, which implied that the stupid kids had to write finals. And I was always in that group.
Which one?
So, the stupid group. All my friends, they understood Charles Dickens. They read their homework. They did well. And the upshot of it was that my parents hired 2 tutors for me at different times. One was a reading tutor. And I remember sitting down with this reading machine that was very noisy, and it led me through reading. It would click and bring the story on. And it was something about a porpoise going through the water or something I had no interest in. And I found that very distracting. And I don't know how I did on that, but the upshot of it was he gave me an IQ test. And I have a very high IQ, above average. And then another time I was failing at composition. And really, I hated my teacher.
Mhm.
But I really, I didn't want to write about babbling brooks. That
Mhm.
just didn't do anything for me. I don't know
Mhm.
what I wanted to write about. But anyway, my parents hired a tutor, and she said, I want you to write me an essay about that teacher that you hate. I said,
Mm.
for sure. So I wrote it, and she read it, and she said, there's nothing wrong with your
Mhm.
writing skills.
Mhm.
So I thank my parents for helping me to not feel like I
Mhm.
was a loser
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I didn't have top grades.
So you
Very insightful.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there are two things that you brought up that to me, are very characteristic of ADHD, and one is that we tend to be very bright. There's something called twice exceptional. A lot of gifted children, there's a higher percentage of. I'm going to get it wrong if I butcher it, but there's a high correlation between gifted and ADHD. Not to say that you have to have ADHD if you're gifted, but it's a higher than a neurotypical, and that's been a misconception. People think, oh, you can't have ADHD, you're smart. But the other thing, to your point, is that we can excel in what we're interested in because ADHD is interest
Makes
based.
sense to me.
And if you don't want to do it, it's going to be torture. So there you go. I mean, and I know you're really successful in your career, which is definitely one of the things I wanted to discuss because you and I work together in the San Diego area. And we actually met as a result of the work that we do. So I definitely wanted to make sure that that was something that we talked about on this podcast because, I am gearing it towards people 45, 50 and over. So they are either going to have an aging parent, who may need, the services that we do together, or they may be, the person that's going to need the services. So I definitely want to transition and talk about a little bit more about what you do as a placement professional, because I am sure that there are a lot of people listening who have never even heard of your industry, just like they haven't heard of mine. So we're going to take a pause because, as I like to share with our listeners, this is a labor of love, this podcast. It is me wanting to really educate people and share my wisdom, but I have to keep the lights on and give treats to Benji to keep him quiet when I'm recording. And so I do insert a couple of commercials. One is about my business, Silver Linings Transitions, in the San Diego area. And the other is something really that you met my friend Lynn. We are partnering in the Sparkler Society. And that is basically a membership community for women 45-ish and over who are discovering this ADHD thing and want to stop doing life on hard mode. And I say, get our shit together. So a lot of people, and I'm one of them, we're good at certain things and we can nail those. But then again, if we're not interested in it, like paying our bills on time or doing our taxes or, grocery shopping or meal planning or, whatever it is that thing that you don't want to do. So canceling subscription. So there's all sorts of things that we're doing together in the Sparkler Society. So we're going to pause, take a commercial. Sydney, I'm going to take a sip of water, check in with you, and then we're going to come back and talk about what we do professionally. I used to dread visiting my mother. Because of the clutter, the piles, the chaos, we all experience clutter differently. For me, it was a source of anxiety and stress. I'd try to help and she'd get defensive. We were both frustrated and it was destroying our relationship. Then we discovered something that changed everything. My mother had ADHD and she'd been living with it undiagnosed for over 76 years. Suddenly, it all made sense. The clutter wasn't laziness, the disorganization wasn't a choice. Her brain was wired differently, and no amount of willpower or traditional organizing advice was ever going to work. That discovery became my life's work. It's why I started the Grandma Has ADHD podcast. It's why I became an ADHD coach and specialist. And it's why I am so passionate about helping women like my mother and maybe like you. Because here's what I know: clutter affects us emotionally and physically. It damages relationships, it creates shame spirals, and the overwhelm of not knowing where to start keeps you frozen. But it's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's brave. If you're in the San Diego or Coachella Valley area, my team at Silver Linings Transitions can come to your home. We'll help you tackle the clutter with compassion, not judgment. I also work with women virtually through one-on-one ADHD coaching. And if you are overwhelmed with clutter, I can connect you with trusted resources in your area. Visit jamishapiro.me to get started, or grab my book, This Explains So Much, on Amazon. My mother and I got our relationship back. You can get your peace back too. That's JAMISHAPIRO.me. Moving can feel overwhelming, whether you're downsizing, relocating, or helping a loved one transition. There are so many decisions to make, details to handle, and emotions to navigate. At Silver Linings Transitions, we believe every move should be magical, not stressful. We're more than movers. We expertly guide you through the entire process and do our best to alleviate your concerns. From the moment we meet, you'll feel comfortable because we will listen to your needs and wants and work together to create a personalized plan that honors your memories and your cherished belongings while helping you embrace your next chapter. We visit your new space and create a detailed floor plan, ensuring your furniture and treasured belongings will fit safely. We handle the logistics so you don't need to worry about anything, from sorting and packing to coordinating the sale and donation of unwanted items. Our professional team uses efficient, eco-friendly bins and handles every detail with care. We coordinate with our vetted moving partners, oversee the logistics, and ensure nothing is left behind, even packing your refrigerator items. Here's where the magic happens. We don't just unpack. We recreate the feeling of home. Using photos from your previous space, we thoughtfully arrange your furniture, hang your pictures, and set up your kitchen and bathroom so everything feels familiar from day one. When you walk into your new space, it's not just moved in, it's home. Your coffee pot is ready, your favorite photos are perfectly placed, your bed is made, and your new chapter begins with comfort and joy instead of chaos. This is how Silver Linings Transitions makes moves magical. We handle the emotional lifting and the logistics so you can focus on what matters most, settling into your new home. Because every move deserves a silver lining. Hi, I'm Jami Shapiro. I am an ADHD coach and the founder of Silver Linings Transitions, where we do home organizing and move management. And, I did not know that I had ADHD for years. And I remember personally hiring an organizing company to come in and help me because I could just never get it together. And it really wasn't until I understood ADHD and its impact that I realized why. And so I wrote a book, This Explains So Much, Understanding Undiagnosed ADHD, because I just feel like there's so many answers that people don't even know that they're looking for, especially generations of women who grew up thinking that ADHD was just for the hyperactive little boy. It turns out it's not only a body that can be hyperactive, but it can be a mind that's hyperactive. So you can have a wonderful day and you can have something wonderful happen, and then that one negative thing that happens is going to be the thing that takes you into that spiral, and it's going to be keeping you up at night, and you're going to be ruminating on it. And I think that, we as women carry so much shame and so much how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to have it together. And I remember that was the case for me. I remember, how is it that all of these women have so much consistency and their kids get the sticker charts and everything seems to run well, and I'm the one that's missing parent-teacher conferences and my house, is always in chaos. And then again, that negative self-talk. So my mission is really to educate people who have no idea that ADHD has the impact that it does. And it's to connect you to other people who get it and who will make you feel that you aren't alone, you're not crazy, you're not lazy, you're not stupid, you're not too much. You just have a brain that was wired differently. And I can't wait for you to join me in the community that I'm building, the workshops that I'm creating, the book club that I'm hosting, because I know that I am going to make a profound difference in your life. So Sydney, I'm gonna throw a plot twist at you, which I did not prepare you for. Oh, I think you're gonna
I'm not surprised.
So when I interview people who know they have ADHD, and I know you do not know that you have it, you have not been diagnosed, but you strongly suspect based on what you've learned, as she's nodding her head for those of you who are not seeing her. I normally ask people, I call it the button question, and that is assuming that you have ADHD. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not diagnosing you, but assuming for the sake of this conversation that you do, if you could turn a button, press a button, hard for me to get the words out, not have it, never had it. So basically a lot of those characteristics of you, like, you would have been good in everything, but maybe you wouldn't have been so interesting or creative, that kind of thing. Would you press the button and not have that characteristic of ADHD?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I think that I'm a great person to just live life. And, years ago when people started going to therapists and coming back and saying, well, mother, it's all your fault. It was the way you raised me. I just hated that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of averse to labels affecting how I manage in the world. Mm-hmm. And I embrace things like all my life I've been a list maker. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's related to ADD. It was a way of coping. Mm-hmm. I'm not a great list maker now because of the nature of my business, but I have that there somewhere.
So whether you have ADHD or you don't, people who did have it but didn't know they had it, lived all of these years, had to find coping strategies, because we have issues with short-term memory, and so making those lists help us to take care of everything that we need to do. But I also discovered that you get a little hit of dopamine when you check something off a list. So there's that gratification, as Sydney's smiling. And also, I wanted to share a couple of other things, positive traits of ADHD that you possess. And one is we have a very strong sense of social justice. So we want things to be right and fair. And we tend to be very empathetic and compassionate. We are like a weather vane. So we have a very strong sense of other people, how they're feeling. We're very intuitive. And so, that also lends itself to what you do. And then I also love that we are creative and very curious. So a lot of wonderful traits. So, I hope for you that you are ADHD, just because I always
I relate to both of those. And, I got an undergraduate degree in sociology back in the dark ages. And, really the career path for people with an undergrad degree in sociology in those days was to be a social worker or to be a parole officer or something like that. And, having come right out of my home with my parents, I didn't have that inclination at all. If somebody had come in and said, oh, I don't know what to do into my office, I would have, quoted my mother, the best helping hand is at the end of your own arm. Get out of here. I was not compassionate. And so when I got into the business that I'm in right now, it was humbling because, I went into it saying, well, this is a business and I'm not a social worker. And I still have to remind myself that I'm not a social worker. but I'm compassionate now. I'm really understanding. I can really put myself in their shoes. And I want to, give them information. I never take away their decision-making process, but I want to hold their hand is what I want to do, metaphorically, through the process. And
well, so let's talk about, actually, I think we've teased it long enough. I think let's talk about what it is. So Sydney is a placement professional. And Sydney, I don't know what CPRS is on the end of your name. What is that?
Certified Placement and Referral Specialist.
Thank you. Okay. So see, I just learned something, and I am on the NPRA, which is the National Placement Referral Alliance.
And they're the ones that offer the CPRS designation.
Right. And so I am, for those of you who've listened to my podcast or haven't, I am a certified senior move manager. So I am on the board helping people in San Diego who work with placement professionals. Once they've decided where they're going to go, my company does all of the logistics of the moving and that. But so anyway, so Cindy, tell me a little bit about what placement professionals do, because I think I've only had one other placement professional on the podcast.
Well, our business, this is how my little elevator pitch is, that I educate you about how the system works when you're trying to help a loved one find care in a senior living community, independent assisted living, memory care, board and care, whatever. My job is to educate you about how the system works. So that you can build a plan that's going to work for you. And it might be daycare, home care, it might be moving. And then if you work with me, that's how I get reimbursed, is I have partnership agreements with all of the communities in San Diego County. And I've been to all of them. I know who the owners are. I have relationships with the good ones. And so I can refer you to options that suit your needs. And so I'm able, through my experience as a recruiter and otherwise in business, I'm a very good interviewer. And I can get all of the relevant details to figure out what I think is going to be a good match for your loved one. And if you agree with me, then I go ahead and look based on care needs now and in the future, price point, and geographic location. And then I'll refer you to 3 or 5 places that I've cherry picked. And I look at the background of them. I look at their licensing records. I look at everything. And I, as I said, I have relationships with 90% of them. I don't refer if I don't have a relationship, which includes me going to the communities. And then I refer you to 3 to 5 places, and your job is to tour. And I'll either tour with you if you like, or you can tour on your own or with your family or whatever is appropriate. And then, you decide if any of those suit your needs. If they don't, we go back to the drawing board. So my goal is to hold your hand through the process so that you can feel comfort in making a decision.
Great. I want to highlight a few things. One is I like to describe placement professionals to somebody that has not stepped into this world as like hiring a buyer's agent, if you will, for finding a home. So a placement professional is the person that can help you select the right community. And I want to also note that you heard Sydney say community, senior community. I cannot stand, I'm sure you feel the same way, the F word when I meet with someone and they say, I'm moving to a facility. And I'm like, do you need to be in a facility? So
it's institutional.
Right. No. And it's so much different. And it's funny to me, so many people still have no idea what senior community living actually is versus what it was. I remember visiting my great grandma when she, did live in the nursing home. And that's what we called it. And it is not that in any way, shape, or form. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that, because we do have people outside of San Diego who are listening. And I also want to say that what Sydney does and what I do as a senior move manager, we are part of national organizations. So you can find professionals in your area, but I would encourage you to find a member of the national NPRA, National Placement Refer. And we're going to put links to this in the show notes, as well as Sydney's business, which is a time to move care placement, right?
No, there's no it's just time to move.
Oh, time to move care placement.
Right. And I also specialize in dementia care.
Yes, and I definitely want to talk about that as well. And then just another thing, just about if you happen to look for a placement professional, again, you want to look for somebody that is, because it's not a regulated industry, unfortunately. And so if you're a member of, as Sydney rolls her eyes, if you are a member of NPRA, it means you're subscribing to a code of ethics. She's a certified placement professional. So you want someone who's going above and beyond, that isn't just saying, oh, I do placement. And the same, by the way, is true of my industry, Sydney. We have a lot of people who call themselves senior movers, but they're not members of NASM, the National Association of Senior Move Managers. They don't have to subscribe to a code of ethics. They don't take any training. They don't carry the same insurance. So you and I are on the same page about, who we serve and why, but also what lengths we've gone to make sure that we're providing the best service that we can. So I just definitely want to talk about dementia, especially as it relates to this conversation. So Sydney is also a specialist. So you talk about your work in dementia. I think that would be helpful.
Well, I want to go back one thing too, because one of the organizations and credentials that both Jami and I have is we're certified senior advisors. And that's a national society of certified senior advisors. We have to do courses and keep up our credential. And there really is a very strong ethics component to the CSA, because it can be financial people, it can be anybody who's in the senior world would want to be a certified senior advisor because of the quality of the credential.
Yeah, that's
more than the NPRA, frankly.
Right.
But
still. No. Thank you actually for bringing that up. I should have brought that up. Yes. Yeah, so you have to take a test to become a certified senior advisor. It's kind of like taking a real estate test, and then there's a background check. But what's really nice is that it's going to be in almost every city. And if you can't find a placement professional or you can't find a senior move manager, you can probably find a certified senior advisor, and they are going to find people who specialize in what it is they do. So as a certified senior advisor, I would not do placement because I am not skilled to do placement. And that's what's nice about the certified senior advisor. They keep everybody doing what they're supposed to do in their own lane, and we work collaboratively. So I do thank you, because I don't think I've pointed that one out enough. So yes. And then, okay, so talk to me a little bit about your work with dementia and some of the statistics, because I've seen you speak and I've heard it's amazing. I mean, you're just so knowledgeable. So I'm so glad to have you.
Again, to the ADD, I'm passionate about this subject. So I've dug deep into it, just as you have with ADD, and with lots of training by Teepa Snow, who's an international guru on dementia care. If you don't know her, you should Google her. And so I've been doing that for over 10 years, maybe as long as 15 years, because families were calling me and saying, my dad has dementia or my husband has dementia, and I can't do it anymore. I need help. I just can't do it. And so it bothered me that I couldn't help them navigate the proper care, because there are lots of people out there that, in senior housing that say, oh yeah, I can look after dementia, but they can't. So, then there's problems, which is not good for the person living with dementia, or they want to medicate them, which is also not good for the person living with dementia, or they kick them out. There's a lot of things that can happen if you're not skilled. So I've learned through Teepa, who's an occupational therapist, and I've studied with other people too. I have other credentials, but She's my number one guru, and she's very prolific in videos and teaching family caregivers. And so she's an occupational therapist, and she brings that to the table. So she teaches not only why are they doing this, what's going on, but what to do, like tips and techniques, very practical tips and techniques. And that's why I love her so much. She's effective. She works on, getting rid of these. This is the type of relationship that most caregivers have with their loved one with dementia. Her goal is to have it like this.
So just for you who are listening, you saw Sydney, she would have been butting her knuckles together versus interweaving her fingers. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, because I have on one of my collaterals that I will guarantee that if you have lost connection with your loved one living with dementia, I'll guarantee that I'll get you connected again.
Wow.
Through her tips and techniques.
That's amazing.
This is why it's my passion.
Yeah.
And I'm a witch when I go into these communities. I'll go into memory care when it's an independent assisted and memory care or whatever. And I'll go up to the staff and say, when was the last time you had some training?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I already kind of know the quality of their care. But it just bugs me.
Yeah. So what would you say to a family who is struggling with a loved one who has dementia? I mean, it is the longest, hardest goodbye we've had it. I don't think there is a family that hasn't been touched by dementia. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I prefer to look at it as not what you're losing, but what you still have.
Okay.
And shift kind of that attitude so that you can have more quality interactions with that person living with dementia. Because there are still a lot of abilities there. But, it's like especially you were talking about nursing homes. I mean, it's like the caregivers that come in with a plate of food, they put it on a tray for the person in bed, and it's ham and scalloped potatoes. And they don't have the ability anymore because of their dementia to cut up that food and feed themselves. So they come back a little bit later and they write on the chart, refused lunch. And so that kind of stuff is risky because they're not getting and it's inhumane, I think, and I think that everybody living with dementia deserves dignity. And so by letting them do what they can still do, by, traveling with them, you're really giving them the dignity that they deserve.
Yeah. Wow. I hadn't even considered that. So thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience, either about, by the way, you keep saying ADD and, it's AD. It's like saying facility, Sydney. It's like saying facility in your industry. Doesn't it bother you?
Oh yeah. The F word. I mean,
yes. So that's how I feel
very well. Yeah. So it should be ADHD.
Correct. Thank you.
Who corrects me all the time is my friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She corrects me all the time. So I'll just leave that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you don't talk about that. We've talked about your friend quite a bit, but
yeah,
I'm going to air any dirty laundry, although I love, spilling the tea here. We could definitely get ourselves into trouble, couldn't we, Sydney?
Well, she's known about this not longer than we have. She was diagnosed many, many years ago, and she's on medication.
Yeah, I'm amazed that there are people, it's very few and far between, especially in older generations of people who knew that they had ADHD. So in our final parting words, is there anything you want to share with so keep in mind who our listeners are, probably women 45 and over, either caring for loved ones and likely have ADHD or suspect they have ADHD, which would also mean that they probably have family members with ADHD, as it's highly heritable. And for some, it's a relief. It's like, oh, this does explain so much. And then it's also mixed with the grief of, if only I had known sooner, what would my life have been like? So I would love to hear what you have to say in your parting words.
Well, I think that one of the worst things that people can do with dementia, and it's probably true with ADHD, is to start whispering behind their backs and saying, oh, mom forgot where she put her keys. She's losing it. She forgot what she had for lunch yesterday. She's losing it. She forgot that she bought toilet paper last week and she doesn't need toilet paper. She's losing it. And that sort of thing is, I'd like people to hold themselves in check and really know what they're doing before they start taking other people's inventory, as they say in AA.
Mm-hmm.
Get a professional read on it. But again, back to that dignity, don't assume anything until you absolutely know it. There is a change that goes on in our brains as we age. And that is just, we get slower.
Mm-hmm. And that's regardless, ADHD, dementia, not. I mean, that's everybody is going to get slower. There's going to be
it's just, walking into a room and not remembering why you walked in. Happens all the time, and it's not dementia.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I think I've shown you the charts. I mean, there was the early signs of dementia. If you looked at that chart, they were also all consistent with having ADHD, not remembering where you parked your car, not remembering someone's name, losing words, so for someone with ADHD, they've likely been doing it their whole lives, but sometimes we don't pay attention to it until we're aging. And then all of a sudden we get concerned, like, oh, it might, and I've heard of a lot of misdiagnosis or diagnoses where it's actually been ADHD and they've called it dementia. So anyway.
Well, good for you. I admire you for what you're doing, because there's a lot of that. And people will say, well, mom's losing her memory. And I'm quick to say, well, dementia is not memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
And dementia is not Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Memory loss is not Alzheimer's. So, there's much more to it than that. And so give us a break.
Right. Well, I really admire you. You are also really advocating for a community that needs your support. And I love that you can reconnect families, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do with the ADHD awareness. And, I've shared
You've done it with your mom.
That's exactly right. I like to tell people, like, I mean, if you had asked me 3 years ago if I would be close with my mother, I would have said, no way. My mom and my relationship was my obligation. I never thought that we could get to where we are. And it's when I started to realize that my mom all these years had ADHD, and I was judging her the same way, someone would have said, why can't you perform better? And I'm like, so I had to look at my behavior and realize, my mom was doing the best she could. Had she been properly diagnosed, then her life really would have been different. And a lot of the challenges that we had would have been avoided. And so I'm really coming to that space with empathy and awareness, which is exactly what you're telling people to do when they have family members with dementia.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume anything.
Right.
Just love them, accept them.
I think love is really the universal language behind all of it, isn't it? And regardless of what we're going through, loving.
It's hard though. When people call me, they're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
They're sleep deprived. And I get it. It's the doctors just say, well, get his affairs in order. They don't give them any help at all. And so it's really an honor for me to be able to say, we're gonna make this easier for you, I hope.
Right. So if you're in the San Diego area and you are you have a loved one with dementia, you should definitely reach out to Sydney Kennedy. And if you are not in San Diego, definitely you want to look up Teepa Snow. That's TeePasnow. I had the privilege of getting to interview her or talk to her because of Sydney, who said, you got to meet Teepa Snow. And she's amazing. And I've seen her speak. So anyway, if there's anything else you want to say before I close with my parting words, this is your shot.
Keep up the good work, Jami. I think you're doing a great job. A great service.
Thank you, Sydney. Same, right back at you. So as I like to end my podcast with, it really is never too late to make the rest of your life the best of your life. Thank you for listening. Please share this with your loved ones because we need to advocate for and understand ADHD. So ADHD, Sydney, so we can destigmatize it and help people to live the best they can. Thanks so much. The opinions expressed on Grandma Has ADHD podcast are those of our guests and hosts and are intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content discussed in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, mental health professional, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of Grandma Has ADHD do not assume any liability for the content of this podcast. Listen at your own discretion.